showtime. Come on. Let's do this. Hey guys!
Oh, talking away. I don't know what to say. I'll say it anyway. We're going back to 1985. We're not shying away. But Ralph will be coming for you any day. Take on me. Take on me. Take me on. Take on me. I'll be gone in an hour or two.
Okay, hey, okay. Justin, hey.
What?
Justin?
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are going to love it. All right. Welcome to the One Up Weekly Live. Yeah. All right, guys, what's going on? We're here to talk about 1985 movies. We were doing some research, and 35 years ago this year, there were a lot of crazy, great movies that I think affected our lives forever. And today, we want to gush over them and talk about them with you. What do you think, Ralph? Does that sound good?
Yeah, I love it. I love the idea, obviously. We both talked about it for a while, and, we're only picking 4, but there's so much cool stuff in 1985. But I think this is a good starting point, for sure.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about it. It's kind of weird because I was 4. I was born in 1981, so it's kind of crazy because I don't really remember watching all of these movies in 1985, but later, probably when we got HBO or something like that, these became pretty epic movies, and as we go through them, we're really interested in hearing from you. What do you think of these movies? Were these big popular movies that you really enjoyed as well? So which movie, Ralph, should we start with?
I think we should start with the one that just had an anniversary, right? It had their 35-year anniversary. It was a big deal, which would be Back to the Future. Plus,
That's
I know, we got to start with Back to the Future. We just have to.
Yeah, we've done episodes before on Back to the Future because I think that's the one thing for sure Ralph and I have in common is Back to the Future is our all-time favorite movie of all time. So, of course, let's start there with Back to the Future. Now, we're not sitting here doing like a watch party, although the other day I was like, dude, we should get the whole crew together and we'll do like a watch party, but this butthead said no. All
right. Well, there was a reason for that. But I mean, if you guys think that would be cool in the future, let us know because Justin had the idea. I was just extremely tired and there was no way we were going to pull it off. But maybe we'll do that in the future if you guys are cool with that. We're all watching the movie at the same time and we can make comments and stuff. It would be fun, but I just thought we didn't have a lot of time to prep. So I didn't want to, lay it on you guys like so quickly like that.
Yeah, this is a weird, interesting movie because we all seem to know it so well. What are we even going to talk about? But for those that haven't seen it, the plot is about this guy, Marty McFly. He's a typical American teenager of the 80s. He's accidentally sent back in time to 1955 in a plutonium-powered DeLorean time machine invented by a slightly mad scientist. And during his often hysterical, almost amazing trip back in time, Marty must make certain his teenage parents that are meant to be, they meet and fall in love so he can get back to the future and not die. Anyway, yeah, I mean, this is obviously for many reasons, a fantastic movie. I think to date, this is referred to as one of the perfect movies in film school. People are taught about Back to the Future because it just has some amazing pace to it,
Aren't there a lot of people that like almost from a film school perspective call it the perfect movie? Like they actually call it the perfect movie to learn from.
That's right. I mean,
cool.
The main course of the movie takes place in 1955 when he's actually traveling in time, and you're there within 30 minutes of the movie. So the first 30 minutes is really like the setup, and it paces so quickly right into it that it's just a fantastic movie. And as a time travel movie, fantastic. The idea, time and space, you're traveling in time, but you're in that same space. You're in a vehicle and you're on that same road. Just awesome plot device there.
What about like before we get into some of the fun facts about it, wasn't there also, because if you think about it, you wouldn't have even been old enough to see it in the movie theater, and neither would I really have been old enough to see it, but it was like very soon thereafter, it would have been at Blockbuster and whatever, and so we saw it that way.
Yeah.
But there's also something like extremely magical about these movies and the way they pulled into like the possibility that this might, you could maybe do this, right?
Right,
like,
right. A very
it's just a childhood wonder. It pulled on it so powerful.
Something so complex like the ability to travel through time all of a sudden becomes very simple. You take a car. I remember being 6 years old going, "Hey, Dad, don't speed because, we might time travel."
Right.
That idea of like get up to 88 miles per hour, and all you need is a flux capacitor and a little bit of plutonium, right?
Can I tell you something that I did when I was a kid that was really nerdy? I
No.
made my mom buy me an extra thing of Palmolive, and I put it in like a beaker, and then I took I took one of the air pumps from my fish tank, which was really messed up at the time because I think I would have had to take the only air pump out. So I'm like, cool, fish, die. So I can make this thing that to me looks like plutonium.
Oh my
but
God.
it was like bubbling in my basement. I don't know why I thought that was cool. It didn't really bubble because it was too thick. But anyways.
All right, it's fun facts time. So our first fun fact about Back to the Future. Now, some of you may already know that, but let us know. Give us a 1 if you knew about this already. The movie was filmed to near completion with Eric Stoltz as the lead instead of Michael J. Fox. Only towards the end of it did the directors realize that Eric Stoltz was not going in the right direction to take and elevate that movie to the top, so they brought Michael J. Fox in to save the day.
It's a common one, but not that many people know it. I mean, you start to, unless you're a hardcore fan, I think a lot of people have no clue. And then when you see like the still shots, there's a lot of still shots of Stoltz. Isn't there? There's the common still shot you find is the one where he's at the bar, right? Where he's at the bar with
that, and then holding up the license plate, right?
Yeah. There's a couple like still shots.
So
I'm
for
sorry,
our
but
second,
you guys are just too darn loud.
Yeah. For our second fun fact for Back to the Future, here's our second one. Ready? It's Crispin Glover, of course, did not play George McFly in Part 2 and Part 3. It's because there was contention that started between Crispin Glover and the director. So this is George McFly, right?
Yep.
That started when they were filming the very first Back to the Future, and he read the script and saw the ending had a maid in it. This whole idea
explain, Justin, explain. So why would he care about that? Why would that make him upset?
He assumed, he wanted to play a role in a movie, and he wanted the movie to be, good for the world, right? And so he thought that the moral of the movie, if it had a maid at the end, the moral of the movie is that if you do good things, you'll be rich and happy. And he did not want Marty is going to come back to the future. He wakes up in the morning and they have a maid serving them meals, right? And so he talked about this in a podcast, Crispin Glover, but he didn't quite say it was a maid. He just said the original script had an element at the end of the movie that he did not agree with. But if you go look at that original script, it outlines there was this maid comes in and feeds them all. And he's like, I want the end of the story to be about love. And I think, Ralph, you made another point that the end of the movie also said.
Yeah, I think it was love. And I think it was like this idea that, even though we know you couldn't have time traveled in DeLorean, it was kind of like this idea that if you put your mind to any, it was that whole quote, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, as a kid, that quote really stuck with me. I remember saying it later on in life, and also it was like kind of encouraging. I think at that age, everything is kind of like, oh, that's an interesting line that he said. And you were like, well, maybe that's true. If you work hard at something and you dedicate your something, you can accomplish it, which I actually do believe in real life is true. So that was a pretty cool message in the movie too. And that was a message that at least I got as a kid when I watched it.
Yeah. Now, what I think was really cool is Crispin Glover did say that, and it did help change the movie. If you think about it, they really emphasized that scene where Jennifer says to Marty, "Is everything all right? You look like you haven't seen me in a week." And he's like, "I haven't." So this is this little romantic spark, and he goes, "Is everything all right?" And he turns back to his parents, and they're holding each other, and they're just so much in love, right? And he goes, "Yeah, everything is great," and that kind of shows the point, right? And I if I understand correctly, Crispin did lean to have those changes take place, and they did listen to him, but of course they were like, "We're writing you out, we're killing you."
Well,
in
they
number
did
two.
tone down. They didn't eliminate, I think, the fact that they were more wealthy
Yeah,
when all the time changes had all happened. Like when things had gone back to whatever normal.
right.
They were obviously better, more. They were better well off at the end of
Hmm.
it, but it wasn't like they were uber rich or something. They were like upper middle class, if you will, in that
Right.
time period.
That's right. We got a good one here. You prefer the original Jennifer because, of course, Back to the
So
Future 2.
a lot of people don't know that one either. That's a pretty interesting one, and it's very obvious when you watch the ending of the first one and then the beginning of the second
It's
one.
got to be like one of the only movies in history where, they made a
They
second
made
one
that
and
switch.
yeah, but also they had to refilm that scene because it's the ending of Back to the Future 1 is also the beginning of Back to the
Yeah.
Future 2, but you can see the actresses are different. And so, yeah, do you like Elizabeth Shue, or I can't remember the name of the actress that, yeah, Claudia Wells.
Yeah, yeah. How many times did you? I don't know if this is just me. As a kid, I remember the first time I watched it was probably like I recorded it on or whatever. I don't remember how I saw it, but I remember rewatching whether it was a rented tape or I made it. I can't remember. I rewatched that ending so many times and saw
Really?
the to be continued. Yeah, like I was like, I want
Well,
to. Like I
if I
want to see the second one.
if I remember correctly, that was added to the VHS tape, and
Okay, then
probably when it was.
because I never saw it in the movie theater, right? Like I wouldn't
Yeah,
have
well,
seen it in the movie
even if you
theater.
did, that's probably not what you would remember. Now, I do have a memory of seeing it in Des Moines. There's a bowling alley that's right next to this. At least at the time, there was the theater, and I remember years later thinking back. I must have been like 10, and I was like, yeah, I remember. There was a Back to the Future. We went and saw it, and there was a bowling alley next to it. And then whatever, like years later, we moved to Texas or whatever, and then we moved back to Iowa, and I found that bowling alley, and I was like, yeah, that was the theater that we went to, because I recall. But I don't remember any of the details. I don't remember
yeah.
being
Yeah.
in the theater or anything like
I-
that.
And I might have seen it as they re-released it. But hey, we got a really big super chat here. I just wanted to bring it up before we go. He said he emailed me a pic of his extension arcade. Would love for you to check it out. It took 3 hours to build today. My email starts Black Room. Hope y'all had a good 4th. Yeah, I hope you had a great 4th too. Thank you so much for the super chat. It's very, very generous of you. I will definitely check it out after the show. That's awesome. Thank you for doing that. Those extension arcade cabinets are awesome. All right, so
All right,
so yeah,
although
dude,
we love Back to the Future, but I think we have to move on to the next one, right?
I don't know how much time do we have. I want to be aware of our timing.
Yeah, so let's move on. So check this out, and we'll get back to other topics at the end of it. One of the greatest movies of all times, ladies and gentlemen, The Goonies.
Yeah, so while this is playing, I'll give you the plot as it's written. Basically, it says facing foreclosure of their homes in the Goondocks area of Estonia, Oregon, to an expanding country club, a group of children who call themselves the Goonies gather for a final weekend together. The Goonies include Optimus Mike Walsh, his brother Brandon, and inventive Data and talkative Mouth, and the overweight klutz Chunk. So there's a lot missing from that plot description. Basically these kids they live in this fairly nice house here in this neighborhood, and basically they're going to build a country club in that area. The parents are about to foreclose, so I can't remember the name of the people that come to. They're basically coming to collect to be like, yeah, you're losing your house, man, and their whole
That's right.
existence as it was would be completely eliminated. So what they end up finding is they end up rummaging through their dad's attic to find this treasure map, which is supposedly this guy One-Eyed Willie, who he's quoted as the original Goonie, and he had this treasure. So this is supposed to be a direct basically link to find this treasure. And their minds, Mikey, who's the sort of optimistic one, is like, hey man, if we get this treasure, then we can pay for our house and they won't foreclose and screw these guys, right?
Right.
Because we're the Goonies. We're gonna go do this. So there's a bunch of really interesting things that happen in the movie. The guy Data that is sort of the techie nerd guy. It's funny because he's the techie nerd of the group who's got all these cool inventions, except his inventions really like never work. And it was funny because as a kid, I kind of felt like I was a little bit like Data, because I would always take things apart and mess with stuff and mod things and break them all the time. So I always kind of felt a connection to him because I'm like, man, I just want one of his inventions to work. And in the movie, some of his do finally work when they need them. But there's a lot of cool, fun facts about the movie. So Justin, check this out. I don't know if you remember this part, and if you guys remember it, it's pretty interesting. There's a part where they're in this cave and they hear this noise behind this rock, and they're like, what is that noise? And they're like, yeah, we're going to move the rock anyway. And then they move the rock and all these bats come flying toward them. Well, come to find out that scene, this is crazy. This is where movies are so magical.
Yeah.
That scene, Justin, was bow ties and wads of black paper mache that was blown out of air cannons. So like, is
cool.
that not crazy to think that like that was all sort of just movie magic? Like there was no bats, because they seemed like bats to me when we watched it, but
yeah, that's right.
That
Imagine
was weird.
They're like, okay, so prop department, how are we gonna do this again? No, check this out. So we're gonna take some bow ties, right, and we're gonna put it in this air cannon, and we're just gonna blow them out, and it'll look like bats. Believe me.
Yeah,
no, it's pretty crazy. I love that thing about movies. So one of our next facts that we're gonna talk about. Did you guys know? And this is another one. Give us a 1 or a 0 if you knew this. 1 being yes, you knew this. 0, you did not. But there was an alternate ending to the movie that included an octopus. Do you guys remember this? You guys hearing about the rumors of this? Look, it's an entire different part. Think about it. You got a big epic ending to a movie. And they obviously spent time in the script, spent time filming this. There's all these scenes where they're in the water. I'm sure this took days, right? And then what did they make the octopus
Dude, this is so bad. I am so glad that this wasn't in the movie. For one, it's completely unnecessary, but it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Can you get...
It's the no. And we watched this before. Check it out. So you got this octopus. They're trying to fight it, right? And they're pulling them down underwater. They're gonna drown. But then Data is like, awesome. I got this. I'm gonna figure this out, right? So he takes his Walkman, right? And he turns it on, sticks it into the mouth, right?
Why?
And he swims away because that's gonna scare off an octopus. Look at him go.
I know, but
wow,
why?
save the day.
That is so random to me. Like, first of all, the other thing I think about when I see this is that that's an animatronic that had to cost a ton of money to make, right? Like that was, so they probably spent, I mean, the movie actually made a lot of money though.
Sure.
I want to say the budget was, I can't remember. I don't have it up. Well, actually I do have it up. Sorry. I'll see if I can pull it up really quick. But the Goonies budget was good. So the budget was 19 million, but in the box office, it made 124 million. So just like Back to the Future, these are like profitable movies. So they did very, very well. And that's important because some of the other movies we're going to talk about did actually not do as well. And I was surprised at that.
Do you see this one from Sean Powers? He said one of the Fratelli brothers lived in his town. He worked on his house.
Okay, that's freaking awesome.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. Wait, what'd I say? Oh, wait. Dad's attic looking for One-Eyed Willie? I don't know what he means. I don't know what you mean, Stringer Films, but anyways, I don't know. We'll clarify that one. I'm not sure, but thank you for the super chat on that. The other thing that was kind of interesting, so Justin, that scene when they're actually coming to the ship, so the producer denied the children of the they're all pretty much child actors at the time. They all were denied access to the sound stage they were building that in because he wanted them to have an authentic reaction because they built a real pirate ship.
Right.
So he knew if they saw that for the first time as they filmed it, it would have been like, whoa, he wanted that holy crap, this is amazing kind of response from the kids. And he did that, which I thought that was kind of cool. Because that's another one of those things, like how awesome is that? Because as a kid filming that movie, they're doing something in that soundstage and you don't know what it is. Like that must be a little bit of stress too, right? Because you're like, what are they doing that they're going to expose us to that they're not going to show us?
That's right. It's kind of like, I got a lot of inspiration from that because, I take that idea and then I apply that to you, Ralph, by, writing scripts and segments of our shows and then never telling you anything about it. So that I get a genuine reaction out of you. It's priceless. It's a fantastic trick. It's pretty good.
Yeah. So there's another one that's really cool. So as a kid, another one that stuck with me in this movie that was really neat is there's this super elaborate water slide scene that actually sends them into the cavern where the ship is, and this was actually a real water slide. So they constructed this water slide. It was real, and I guess like the directors and some of the other people that worked on the movie would like after hours go ride it. Like this thing's pretty cool. Now I couldn't find like information about. I'll have to go dig, but it does name the guy that designed the water slide. But how cool is this as a kid? Like you were totally wanting to ride this water slide as a kid. And,
yeah, I mean, like this
hanging down.
This would have been awesome if they turned it into a real water slide that we could go to, like at a theme park, right?
How would this never have ended up in a theme park? Like
right,
some
and
theme park
then you
somewhere.
go down, and then you can see the pirate
and
ship.
there'd be a
and
ship.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes, that would
It'd
have
be
been
so cool.
awesome.
Why don't we just do it now, right? We all have kids now. We can take our kids there.
I know. Actually, Zohar made an interesting comment. He talked about while we were talking about this scene. He was talking about the piano scene. As a kid, the piano scene scared the crap out of me too. I don't know why. Like it raised the hairs on my arm as a kid. That was a really cool scene. The piano had like, you know, almost bones. Like it was made, the whole thing was made out of bones. Super creepy. And if you played the wrong note, part of the floor would drop in. And by the end, like they needed to get to the other side. There was almost no floor left. It was like, basically we're going to die if we don't get this note right.
That's
and,
right.
The speech that they give, that I think it's Sean Astin that gives the speech. The speech that he gives in that scene was completely improvised. I guess the director said, this is kind of the thought of what we want you to do. And I think they wanted to do that because they wanted it to be like really authentic. Like, hey, if this doesn't work, you're all dead. And he's like, say something encouraging. And it like came out awesome.
Yeah.
So the one last thing I wanted to share about this movie that's awesome.
I think this might be your favorite because in the research for this episode, we were like talking about all the different things, but it was the Goonies where he was just like, oh my gosh, and we got to do this clip and we got to do this clip. And then,
so do you have this clip? All right.
Yeah.
So this clip is awesome. So the Corey Feldman plays Mouth, right? And so there's a scene where he's hiding jewels in his mouth. And so she's like, is that all you got? And he's like, yeah, it's all I got. And she starts pulling out like, oh, okay, yeah, you got this pearl necklace. All right, is that it? And he spits out a couple more, and she's all, what the heck? She's like, my God. And he's got one last one that he spits out. So the reason why that scene is so funny is I guess that was in one take, and the director was like, man, it's so awesome that you were named Mouth because he shoved all that stuff in his mouth at one time. And so the scene was real authentic. So just I love that part.
That's right.
I love that part. But anyways, yeah, so I guess it's time to move on to the next one, I think, right?
I think so. So the next movie that we have, let's see, we're going to be talking about, right?
I think it's Explorers.
It's Explorers. So yeah, so here's the problem with Explorers. Like we were like, okay, we got to find some clips and talk about it, you know, and there wasn't really much to find on this movie. And let's start out with 001. You know, we got one, you've seen it. 0, you haven't seen it because when we were doing research, you know, this is a movie that we both love, but it actually bombed in 1985. This was not a popular movie, but if you haven't seen it, you guys got to check it out.
Do you know how bad it bombed though?
How bad was it, man?
So the budget of this movie was somewhere between 20 and 25 million, and it made 9.9 million. So I mean, this is a complete fail from a movie perspective. Like even though it's a cult classic, is a complete fail in the box office, which sucks because I loved this movie.
So tell you what, I've seen it. I saw it as a kid. I probably saw it on HBO or something like that in the early 90s. Why don't you explain it to me after the super chat? Explain the movie to me. Sell me on watching this movie.
Okay, all right. So Hobby Hand says $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Says love Explorers. My computer nerd and or I'm a computer nerd and loved sci-fi. So yeah, that's a great reason to love this movie because it is sci-fi, but it does it in such an entertaining way that someone that might be like, oh, I love sci-fi, and their definition of sci-fi is like old Star Trek stuff. You'd love this because it has like a big entertainment spin to it. It's not as nerdy as some of that stuff. So basically, this is the gist of the movie. So Wolfgang is sort of like the nerd in the movie, right? He's like this really smart, brilliant kid. And this guy, Ben, he has this dream that he keeps having where basically he's like dreaming about the design elements of this thing that can allow them to travel through space.
Space, right? Yeah.
But they're both having a similar dream and don't know it because they haven't discussed it yet. So he basically brings this, he draws it down and brings it to his friend, and his friend was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! I can build that." So it ends up building this sort of like force field bubble that he can surround an object with,
That's
and
right.
make it travel near limitless distances. So it's like, and there's like weird things, like it has no ill effects of inertia and stuff like that. So it's kind of the geeky part of it.
Right.
And then they're like, well, we're gonna build something to travel through space in, and they build it out of an abandoned tilt-a-whirl, amusement ride. So imagine at that time, in 1985, you've got NASA, you've got movies like Space Camp, like kids were fascinated with space.
Right.
So this was like, it was just a really nerdy, cool, very creative movie, and it goes into all these elements of, who are they going to go visit now that they have this time machine or not time machine, but now that they have this spacecraft that they've built out of this carnival ride. It's just an amazingly creative movie, and it really actually kind of saddens me. I didn't realize it was a box office flop. I found that out today. I didn't realize that. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, it kind of has like a similar feeling of like Flight of the Navigator. I'm sure everybody has seen that movie.
Definitely saw that, yeah.
That movie's probably like it's not as raw. Like this is very raw. It's really cool. It's like they build it in their garage type of thing. But
So
once
I didn't sell Mike, by the way. Oh well.
0.0.
Zero.
Yeah, so I think there's a fantastic scene that you wanted to show as well. That this one we're going to share some audio on it. So why don't you set it up, Ralph?
Yeah. So if it's the scene I think you're pulling, it's basically they're getting ready to take off for the first time in this craft that they built, again, out of a carnival ride. It's out of a tilt-a-whirl, and I kind of got a chuckle out of it because there's a scene in here where, so you got a couple different characters, right? I'm gonna try to make sure I don't get their names wrong, because there's actually quite a few in this movie. So Ben is the guy that's actually sitting you can't see him in the scene right now. You're actually looking at Darren Woods, or no, Jason Presson is the guy you're looking at. His name was Darren in the movie. He played sort of the bad boy in the movie. The thing that sucks is he only had one other movie that he appeared in, one major motion film, which was Gremlins 2. Outside of that, he didn't have a movie career, really. He had like made for TV stuff, which was sad because I really liked him in the movie. He kind of played this like bad boy character.
That's right.
Now, the funny thing is the guy that played River Phoenix, who's no longer alive, unfortunately, he played Wolfgang, who, if you go to the beginning of the clip, you can kind of see it. It's not playing for me, Justin. I don't know if you're not playing.
No, I'm not playing it.
But
no, I mean, I wanted to wait until you
stop
talking because we'll actually play with audio.
Yeah. So that's Ben, who's right there. So Ben is like super excited. He's the one that that's Ben.
That's
Ben. So that's Ben.
That's River Phoenix.
Wolfgang's right there. Who's River Phoenix?
Right.
And then you got the guy that's supposed to play the bad boy. Now River Phoenix didn't want to take on the role of the geeky character. He didn't want to. He wanted to be a bad boy. Now the thing that's interesting is later on they go to film Stand By Me, where he actually did play that sort of bad boy-ish character. But you can start playing it a little bit.
You want to hear something before we go into this? My sister loves River Phoenix, loves this movie. My nephew, his name is Wolfgang.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
So if we scrub a little bit forward till when they're inside it, let's go a little bit further.
Crazy? We need to go. Come on. All right.
Yeah, so right now they're doing the checks of the...
No. It'll be cooler if it's on. Are you?
All right, Justin, you can pause it because this part's funny. I'll talk about it real quick. Instead of playing the whole clip, I'll show it. So basically, Wolfgang, who's the nerd, is doing all the system checks, right? He's like, yeah, all right, illumination on and off. And the guy, Ben, is like, oh, no, we got to keep the lights on. And it was funny because it made me think, and actually it's kind of not right, but it made me think that Justin would be the one doing all the system checks. And I'd be like, come on, Justin, we got everything. Let's just go. We got to keep the lights on. He's like, Ralph, people will see us. I'm like, but it'd be so cool. So anyway, I just made me think of that. And then Justin was like, yeah, but you're actually really risk averse, Ralph. So you wouldn't be that way, which is actually kind of true.
I'm just going to come out and say it. So listen up, guys. All right. So he lives in this world, Ralph does, where he wants to say that I'm like this character. I'm the one that's like, we should do this and you should do that because you're the one holding back. And I'm like, no, you're the one holding back. You're the one I was all like, let's do future Ralph. And he was like, no, he said no for like a month. We could have given the world future Ralph like a month earlier, but he never wants to take risk. And last week I was like, hey, let's do an episode that's all on movies. And he's like, no. We have a channel where everyone wants to talk about video games. I'm like, come on. Let's do movies. Hit one if you like this episode. Come on. Just show me some love. Tell Ralph like he needs to take more risks. Come on.
All right, maybe, maybe we'll see. So, dude,
right.
I think we're almost at time for the last movie, which is mostly on you, man. I'm pretty sure.
What? I didn't prepare for this. What are you talking about?
Weird Science.
Oh, Weird Science. Okay, so let's talk about Weird Science. So again, let's hit some ones in the chat if you've seen the Weird Science movie. We have a couple fun facts about Weird Science. It's another movie that came out in 1985. That's a pretty interesting part. Let me get this all set up. But it's about
so we gotta also so Mike was saying he can't believe this is the list, and it's like, well, we had to make a list for at least a 45 to an hour, so there'll be more movies. This is just what we picked for this one.
That's right. So this is about two unpopular teenagers, Gary and Wyatt. They fail at attempts to be accepted by their peers, and in their desperation to be like, it leads them to create a woman with their computer. And this is a living and breathing creation of a gorgeous woman named Lisa, whose purpose is to boost their confidence level by putting them through situations which require Gary and Wyatt to act like men. And on the road to becoming accepted, they encounter many hilarious obstacles, which gives the movie an overall sense of silliness. Now, obviously, you kind of look at this movie, and there we got Bill Paxton. I think this is a really interesting, that's a lot of people probably remember this movie from that actor, and he went on to do some really great things. This is an interesting 80s movie where the two stars of the movies didn't really move on to do other things, but supporting actors did. And there's a couple supporting actors in here that did some amazing things, Ralph. And does anyone know the other famous actor that's in this movie?
I don't.
I'll give you a hint, all right? I'll give you a hint.
All right, give me a hint.
You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready. Iron Man?
Yeah, that's right, man. This is Robert Downey Jr. was in this movie.
So the crazy thing is, by the way, that was me bad acting. Is it really Iron Man? But like, I actually didn't remember Robert Downey Jr. being in the movie until Justin told me earlier today. I'm like, what scene was he in? Then I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. He was totally in the movie, except, when he's got the curly hair and it's like, that's hard to see Iron Man in that, but that's crazy, man. That's such a crazy thing.
That's right. Now I have a couple theories. Now the movie Weird Science was John Hudge's movie. He did Ferris Bueller. He did Home Alone, which, by the way, I think are actually. I have this theory about Home Alone and Ferris Bueller that Home Alone and Ferris Bueller are basically the same storyline because it was written by the same guy. He kept on Weird Science. It's the same guy, right? He keeps on doing all these where they're it's kids at home. It's this weird thing,
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about Weird Science. How did this affect you as a child? Like going to see. I mean, I must have been early '90s when I saw this on HBO, just like a lot of the other ones. But
Justin,
I mean, I watched this movie like 100 times, and I'm trying to figure out why. Why? I mean, the movie's really good. If you haven't seen it, you got to watch it, right?
I think this is gonna be stupid, but this bra part, when they're creating the girl, it made me feel weird as a kid.
Yeah,
I'm like,
is it because it's just completely silly? Is that why the movie's
no?
so
Because
great?
I was kind of like, I got a Commodore 64. If I could make this work, like, I was kind of like, could I do it? I'm like, maybe this will work.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Is it because you wanted to be accepted as a kid and you were struggling to do that, so you thought maybe we use your computer to create a woman, and originally you thought this would be a woman that you would date and it would solve all your problems because you can be really cool because you can be associated with a girl that's very good looking, or that you created that woman so that she could teach you how to become a man?
I don't know that it would have been that smart around that time. It would have probably been for various other reasons, but yeah. So It was just so cool, like that whole scene, because it doesn't he like, I don't know, that part, computers were still like for home use, were still in that like mysterious time period where isn't he like saying he needs more power, and then like stuff like the washing machine blows up and like manhole covers are blowing up, and it's like, I don't know, he unplugs it, nothing happens, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And the drama of the door open, it like it flexes open and then smashes and she's standing there. Like, it's such a crazy scene.
Yeah.
It's such a
Stringer
crazy
Films,
scene.
thank you so much for correcting my grammar here. I did say his name incorrect. You if you rewind, you'll notice I was like John Hudges. That's wrong.
Justin, there's been a couple things that got brought up here. One by Michael B, the Game Genie, brought it up. And so did Hobby Hands. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. I didn't know there was a Weird Science TV show. Like, was it actually like a filmed sitcom kind of thing? Like, what was it?
Yeah.
If anybody can mention,
I
did
do
you see
remember
it? I don't
watching
remember
it. It comes, it's kind of like, to me, it's like Back to the Future, the animated series, where as a kid, I watched like the first few. I didn't watch them all as a kid. And I was like, this is really cool that they turned it into a TV show. And in fact, I love the idea that they had, Doc Brown in it and the cartoon. And then I remember watching Weird Science, the TV series, but it was like, I don't know, it just wasn't as good. Did you guys like it? Should I go back and watch it?
Someone said it was okay.
I don't know. I remember it kind of felt like Saved by the Bell. Weird Science.
Really? Yeah, that doesn't seem like it would go very well. I can't imagine it being a TV show. I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird.
But it was.
Huh. That's interesting. What I forgot where we were gonna go with it. What other interesting facts are there from Weird Science?
I don't think we collected any interesting facts except for Robert Downey Jr. was in it. We got Bill Paxton that was in it. It was directed by John Hughes, or Hudges, as the 10-minute ago Justin would say it. Who also did Ferris Bueller and Home Alone. It came out in 1985. I remember it being a movie that, it had highs and lows. It had the silliness, but I remember being young. And see if you can tap into this, Ralph, and remembering as well. There's a scary part, right? Remember where the bad guy comes and he's like bald, and he's all they got guns, and then they stick up to him. They stand up and they say, "You can't come in here and do this in our house with your ugly face." Yeah,
they gave her she gave them the confidence to do that. That was a pretty cool scene.
That's right.
It kind of made you.
But I remember being a kid, like scared. Whenever I would see that, here it comes, right? The motorcycle's coming. Oh, this is the scary part. And then I'd be like, yeah, he's got confidence, right? And he showed them, and then there was a love aspect at the end. Like he ends up with the girl, but it's
question.
It's not Lisa. It's the girl that was there the whole time, right?
Yeah. Did that scene give you, like, I think most of us that are probably that watch the channel and, we probably were pretty nerdy in our youth or geeky or into techie, geeky stuff. But would you say that watching that scene made you feel empowered that you could, if potentially bullied, you could like stick up for yourself because of that scene? Like it had a little bit, that's a pretty powerful scene to go, hey, the two nerdy kids are like sticking up and winning, like it's kind of cool. It was cool. I don't know. I had that reaction, but I'm weird. So.
yeah. Sorry about that for the people that haven't seen these movies.
Yeah. Thanks for making me feel super awkward for sharing some childhood stuff. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a couple of interesting facts about the movie. It says that Bill Paxton got that military haircut, the flat top, without the director's permission.
I guess it's too late, right? What is he gonna do? Wear a wig afterwards or something?
So it says right here, it says, first day on the set, I told the film's makeup artist, I think this is from Bill Paxton, I wanted to do the haircut that was really intense. This is what Paxton said in some interview in 2012. He said he's the one who suggested the flat top, but long on the sides and slicked back. And he was afraid he was going to lose his job to cut it without having it approved by the producer, but he said, just do it. And then he said Hughes actually loved it, along with everything else that Paxton brought to the character. So he actually did that like against the director's sort of suggestion, I guess, of the way he wanted it cut. And And then the other interesting fact is Lisa was named after an early Apple computer. The Apple Lisa was the first personal computer to have a graphical user interface, released in 1983, and that was kind of what they modeled the computer off of. So, or I guess Lisa was named after that. That's kind of interesting.
So you're saying, if I understand you correctly, you're saying Steve Jobs loved this movie so much that he named his daughter after this girl? Oh, you mean the opposite. Okay, I get it. Okay, so we hit the 40-minute mark, and now it's your turn.
I got one more. This is good. No, one more. This is good because I like poop jokes. During filming, Robert Downey Jr. pooped in another actor's trailer. It says, in 1997, Downey told Playboy that he was a serial dumper on the set and that he defecated in fellow castmates' trailer, much to the chagrin of Bill Paxton. It was a really bad scene. I never admitted it until now. Downey said, "That's pretty awesome, actually."
He's
I don't know
not
why
like,
he would do that.
I don't know. He was like Jim Carrey. He's like, "Do not go in there." Woo!
Exactly. My other one, actually, there was, before we get to the part you want to get to, Justin, so eagerly, there was two movies. I can't remember if it came out on this time period. So this is not going to be 85, but there's two other movies that popped into my head, and I think someone in the chat mentioned it. Rocky IV was an awesome movie, and I think that was 1985. That was 85, with the Russian in it. That was personally my favorite Rocky, but probably because that was the one I technically grew up on. I don't know. I think other
So
people...
there's another movie from 1985 that didn't make the cut because Ralph said no to it, and that was Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. Come on,
yeah,
Pee Wee
for
Herman's...
obvious... No, okay. Next, please. There's reasons why I don't want to talk about Pee Wee Herman.
Okay, next movie that didn't make the cut, Ghostbusters.
Well, but it will make the cut when we do a second, version of the show at some point. A second version of this, yeah. It's not like we had to pick. Like we just picked ones that came to our mind, but there's way more. Like there's so many.
Yeah.
So many more.
Oh, Short Circuit. Come on, Johnny Five.
Short Circuit was awesome.
So good.
Another movie that, so many movies from that time had such creative angles to it.
This is why I didn't make the cut.
Well,
I was all like, it's 84. Yeah.
No, that's not what you said, but okay.
Pretty much.
You know what movie? Oh, you know what movie I wanted to add, but it wouldn't make the cut.
No one cares. We want to hear what movies they want.
One more. We have plenty of time. We have 15 minutes. Calm down. The other movie that I loved, but I thought it was 85, but it wasn't, and this one's super culty. Like, if you know this movie, I'll be so stoked. So this movie had a budget of $3 million. It made $2 million. And I'll be really surprised if people in the chat have seen this movie or love it.
Mannequin.
The movie Rad.
Oh, yeah.
That was by far my favorite BMX movie. It was awesome. The scene where that Send Me an Angel song's playing and they're doing they're
Send
up on their
an angel. Whoa.
Yeah, that was awesome. Oh, dude, Iron Eagle was a great movie too.
Now we're getting them. Now, Last Starfighter, come on.
Wait, are you guys picking 85 though?
They don't care.
Make sure it's 85. They don't care. All right, fine.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, God, so good. And then, what do you guys think about the remake of that? Like they're remaking, or are they doing another? Are they doing like a prequel, or
no?
It?
It's good. It's present time. It's like present time. Bill and Ted still haven't made the hit yet. The song that's going to change the world. They still haven't written it. So they're going to travel into the future. And this is what I think they're going to do. Because I watched the trailer and I'm trying to glean from it. I think they're going to travel and they're going to reveal that Bill and Ted's live in a multiverse. And they're going to now time travel to different possible futures to try to find the song that's going to save mankind.
Wait, you know this or did you just make that up?
Well, what I know is there's a trailer that shows Bill and Ted.
I didn't see the trailer yet.
Bill and Ted at present time.
Yeah.
Traveling to the future, and it shows them, but they're in prison and they're all buff. So I think it's not them. And they were like, "What did you think of the song?" And they're like, "It's all right. It's kind of evil a little bit." And so from that, I'm like, "Oh, I think he's gonna like." The whole idea is they're gonna travel to a possible future where. And they listen to that song in the future, but in that possible future, they're like in prison. And they're like, nope, not that one. So let's travel to a different. It's going to be like Sliders or something like that.
Could it be possible, Justin, that the reason why the telephone booth can time travel is because of the ball bearings? I'm just curious. I mean, if you're a Fletch fan, you'll know what I'm talking about, but it's always about the ball bearings. Thank you, Stringer Films, for that super chat, because that movie and that scene is one of my favorite scenes of all time when he's like, yeah, it's got to be the ball bearings. It's freaking awesome. I love that movie. That movie would have been way before 85, I think, though. I'm not 100% sure on that. I thought. I love Fletch. Oh, man. I love that Stringer Films just mentioned Fletch. We got a lot of breakfast clubs in there. There was a lot of breakfast clubs, multiple Fletches.
Yep.
Teen Wolf. I never saw Fletch Lives.
Oh, yeah?
When someone says Fletch Lives, it makes me remember the movie They Live.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember?
With Rowdy Piper?
With the sunglasses that reveal that half of the people are aliens?
Wait, we got to figure out the year that...
So that movie... So
1988.
I used to work in a lab for television broadcasting, and that would play on a loop. And while we were doing testing... They Live would just play on a loop, and we were like forced to watch it for weeks because we made a recreation of a full head-end, distribution system for cable and satellite, and so we weren't feeding off of a real feed. We had to recreate content, and for some reason, They Live was on the rotation.
Huh.
That and Big Buck Hunter.
So I need to rewatch. No. So They Live was one of those movies. What?
Never mind.
Oh.
Just continue.
They Live is one of those movies that, like, I need to go back and watch because I liked it a lot as a kid, but I'm wondering if I'd like it as much now.
Oh, dude. You talking about They Live?
Yeah.
Okay, here's why. No, it's straight up B movie. There's a 30-minute fight scene in the movie.
No, there isn't. Is it that long?
I'm pretty sure it's 30 minutes.
But that's 80s
Fact check me, right? Am I right? Someone who knows They Live really, really well. Is it not a 30-minute fight scene?
But you could get away with that stuff in the 80s.
Like, on.
You could get away with that stuff in the 80s, I think. Philip said in the case of 30-weight ball bearings. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for
what about Sean Powers with the UHF, Weird Al Yankovic?
Hey,
right?
Someone mentioned you said Piper literally gives a full wrestling match. So... That's awesome. I don't know, man. There's so many people bringing up awesome movies in here. It's hard to like keep up. There's so many awesome ones.
Oh, Over the Top.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
Over the Top.
Yes. So Over the Top, we have that on RiffTrax. If you go to rifftrax.com, you can download a commentary that you can sync with the movie. They have a. Speaking of Weird Al Yankovic from UHF, and I want to plug rifftrax.com one more time. He does an amazing, remember the Mystery Science Theater 3000 guys? So they're still making content, but it's at rifftrax.com, and they do it for blockbuster movies. So you pay like $3 and you download it, and then you play their commentary over the blockbuster movie that you have from Netflix or from Blu-ray or whatever. So they're still producing that content, and they did Jurassic Park, and Weird Al Yankovic is a guest on it, and it's hilarious. But they also do Over the Top, and it's so funny.
I just remember loving Over the Top, like that idea. I don't know, Sylvester's so funny. I think when you grew up in that time period, you just liked Sylvester Stallone for whatever reason. He could do anything, and you'd like him.
So I'll tell you this other thing. So Teen Wolf, funny movie, awesome movie. Long time ago, I was like 19 years old. I was working in this installation office. It was early in my cable satellite career when I was actually doing installations. And there was this guy, he was my boss, and he's a pretty older guy. And he would basically had this job because he was like retired from his main job. And he drove the vehicle. He was a stunt double for years. And he drove the van in Teen Wolf because he was really, Like
in real life, he did?
In real life, he was the stunt double for Teen Wolf. We remember when Michael J. Fox is on top, so they have to hire stunt doubles because you can't have actors driving a vehicle with another actor that's standing on top of it. So he was the professional driver, and he was short. He's a short guy.
Yeah.
So he'd get these roles because he could like steer and get really low, and his eyes are like barely, and then the real actor is like standing behind him or something like that. Anyway, it was really, really cool. He also did the driving for like Moonwalker, like that movie, the scene where like the limo comes out. That guy, he was the driver for it. He was going on and on. He was like also a stunt double for remember the scene in Adventures in Babysitting, I think it is, and it shows the kid that's sliding down the top of the vehicle.
Yeah.
He's that guy. Okay,
Seriously?
Get this.
Oh,
This
that's
guy's been around
crazy.
for a really long time. Do you remember the Beverly Hillbillies TV show back in the day? Whenever Granny went crazy, he was Granny.
What?
Yeah.
You worked with this guy?
I worked with this guy, and he's just
That's
every morning he
crazy.
would just go on a list of all the movies. He was like, we don't believe you. And this was like the first time I ever heard of IMDb. This was like 2002. And he's like, yeah, go check out my IMDb. Sure enough. Just this
That's
list
so
of
nuts.
movies that
And
he was
there's
in was
probably
just
so many-
awesome.
There's probably so many people that like touched some of the, you know what I mean? Like there's so many people that work as hundreds of people that work on a movie. So whether they're stunt doubles, they're pyrotechnic people, for special effects, editors, like there's so many people. And you got to think like a lot of these people that are older probably worked in movie industry, and yeah, they don't think about it anymore, but yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what movie just popped into my head that I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I forgot this one. I liked it as a kid, but I wasn't like over the moon, but I did like it. It's that movie with Val Kilmer, Real Genius, I think.
Oh, I was going to say like Willow?
No, Real Genius. It's actually on a list of like top movies from 1985, which I thought was interesting. Police Academy 2 is on
So let's see if I can barely remember. This is when they would go into a closet in Real Genius, and there was something weird in the closet that would take them down into.
Wasn't it the laser that they were inventing? I can't. It's been so long since I've
that
seen that
scene
movie.
where they like shoot a laser across the
Yeah.
dormitory and stuff.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah.
see that movie. I haven't seen it in a while. My wife talks about it all the time. She'll probably want to watch it.
Val Kilmer is in really rough shape these days, though.
Oh, you must mean Top Secret.
As you get down to the bottom of the list of the top movies of 1985, there's a lot of weird. I didn't realize Santa Claus, the original one, came out. That's not. Oh no, never mind. That's a different Santa Claus. That's not the Santa Claus I'm thinking of. Heavenly Kid was good too, right? Why do I remember Heavenly Kid, but I can't like pinpoint it?
If you don't know, the next couple weeks, Ralph and I, every night, all we're going to be
watch
doing
like
is watch
80s
all
movies.
these 80s. Like, seriously, we were putting this together, and this is what I didn't know the side effect of putting together the show would be. Like, literally while we were putting this together, we were like, oh, I got to watch that again. Oh, I got to watch that again.
Dude, hold on. Everyone in the chat, just pause for 1 second. If you can tell me, if you loved this movie, put a 1. And I'm just going to say a quote from it. And this movie came out in 1985, and I can't believe I didn't remember this. Who's the master, Leroy? Put a 1 if you know put a 1 if you know that movie and loved that movie. I said, who is the master? All right, I'm waiting for the ones to come in. Everyone has to remember that movie. It's like such a cult classic. I'm waiting for tons of ones. I can't be the only one.
Got
Seriously?
a couple ones. Here we go. Here we
No,
go.
Here they come.
Last Dragon.
Yeah, that's it. It's Last Dragon. I love that movie. And I love the stupid soundtrack. When you got that glow. When you got that glow. It's the... I love that.
That's all you. All
yeah,
you.
No, you can get it off me now. Oh, wait. Someone in the chat said Barry Gordy's Last Dragon 20 times. I didn't even see it because the chat flies by. But, oh, man, I got to watch The Last Dragon. I love that movie. I love that movie. All right, if you haven't seen it, outside of the 4 that we covered, you got to see Last Dragon. It
All
is
right. I think I
awesome.
saw, but I don't remember it.
Wait,
You
what?
get to disown
Hold
me
on.
now for our
Hold
friendship.
on just a freaking second. They made a Last Dragon pinball
Worlds
table?
collide.
What?
All right then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah, when you got that glow. When you got that glow. I love it. Okay, sorry. I love that movie so much.
All right.
I just love the part where he's like, I said, who Who is the master? And then he grabs his hand and he's like, I am. And that's when he gets the glow. It's so awesome. I wanted the glow as a kid so much. Anyways, okay.
All right.
So I got really excited about that. I didn't realize it was 85.
You certainly did. I think it's time. You know what time it is, Ralph? It's time to read Zohar's super chat. That's what time it is.
All right. I actually can we just play us out? I don't really want to do final thoughts tonight. I don't have final thoughts. This was just a fun episode, and I had a lot of fun hanging out. I loved that everyone was like sharing these awesome, movies that they loved, from their childhood around that time period. So I don't think we need final thoughts.
I like final thoughts. I thought final thoughts was good.
Okay,
I wrote final thoughts, and now he wants to remove my segment.
No. All right, fine. I'll do final thoughts. But Zohar, the girl in Last Dragon was hot, he says. The girl in the Gremlins was hot too. And you both need to see Cloak and Dagger and Golden Child. Okay. Thank you for the super chat, Zohar. We will do that. We will do it.
All right.
Oh, dude. If you could only sing Send Me an Angel. Send me an angel. Ooh, right now. Right now. Do you know how it goes? It's all, send me an angel. Ooh.
Yeah,
like
I mean, I had three older sisters, and
right now.
All right.
Since I kind of freaked him out right now, I want to know some little tidbit that I would never share with anyone but you guys. I snuck into my sister's room when I was like, I thought I was doing something really bad. She had the Madonna sex book, which probably came out around this time, and I got really excited as a kid. I thought I was literally doing something completely wrong. And I remember flipping to this one page, and it had like her with no top on with Vanilla Ice, and I was like, I'm so wrong, I need to close this, what am I doing? And I remember like going out of a room really quick, like, I can't believe I saw that. But anyways, all right,
so I have an idea.
Shouldn't have shared that. You got to wrap it up, Joe. Shouldn't have done that.
All right, now I need you to say it again, except for in a deep final thoughts voice. Back when I was a kid, I snuck into my sister's house, or sister's room. Go ahead.
Hey guys, it's final thoughts time. As Brian pointed out right now, the sex book was in the 90s, so a completely different decade, but it's cool. Ralph sometimes can be.
It also means you were a little bit older than you were saying.
Yeah. And it makes the story actually weird now, so thanks, Brian. I also realized that there were so many freaking good movies in 1985 that it did anger a couple of you guys that we didn't mention some of your favorites. But we will make this a segment in the future because it seems like everyone had a really good time. The other thing we learned is that there was a ridiculous scene at the end of the Goonies that thank the Lord that they didn't keep in. And apparently you can destroy a killer octopus with just a Walkman. Who would have known?
That's right. And then right after you snuck out of your sister's room, you went and stole money from the quarter jars.
Yes. Oh, I shouldn't have seen that. Gotta get quarters. Going to the arcade.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right, guys.
Wait, hold on. This is so true. Mom isn't going to care. It was the 90s. That's right. They're like, parenting back then was like, all right, kids, go outside. Enjoy the world. Nothing bad could possibly happen to you. Just go frolic.
That's right.
Yeah, now we're like, you kids can't go outside. Everything will kill you.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We're gonna end it tonight with closing time. Open up the doors and let you out into the world. Closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So gather up your jackets, move it to the exits. I hope you have found a friend. Closing time. You don't have to go home. I don't know the lyrics.
You just repeated the same verse.
Closing time. Every new beginning. I always change the words so we don't get a copyright strike. Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks so much. This was a super fun show. Thanks, Justin, for actually making me do the show. This was a ton of fun. Thank you for all the super chats and all your guys' support of the channel. And I think that's it, Justin.
That's right.
Throw a like. Throw a like if you liked it. And we will
Thank you for watching One Up Weekly Live. Yeah.
And we will see you
on the next one.
the next one.
Take care.
Take care, guys. Have a good one.